Okay. Seconds, and it'll be 1:03, and we will start. Okay. Well, welcome all. We appreciate you attending our webinar today on creating a culture of accountability. So I will be your moderator for the day. I am John Noonan. I am the owner of Growth Plan Partners and also a sales acceleration advisor. So I help clients build a path to more sales. Shameless promotion here. Next week at this time, we'll be having another webinar called the Growth Blueprint for 2026, aligning AI, tech, marketing, and sales for success. So we hope you'll all attend there. We have the link in the chat. So that is available for you to register for that one next week at this time, and we hope you can do that. But back to today's topic here in creating a culture of accountability. We have three great speakers, and I'll give you a little background on each. So our first speaker is probably known by all, Jackie Gurnay. She is the CEO of SevenStar HR, and SevenStar HR partners with trusted advisors and the business leaders they serve to transform HR from a cost center into a powerful driver of business success. By providing tailored, comprehensive HR solutions, SevenStar HR reduces a company's risk, optimizes employee management, and ultimately helps business owners reach their business and personal goals, specializing in one of the most challenging aspects of business: hiring, retaining, and managing top talent. She is also the CEO of the Alternative Board TAB of New York, and she has dedicated her career to driving success through one-on-one coaching and peer board support. Since starting TAB in 1999, she provided over 10,000 hours of coaching and facilitated over 1,000 peer board meetings. So welcome, Jackie, and thank you.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah. And secondly, we have Judy Wilkes. So Judy is an experienced executive with over 27 years of expertise in project management, organizational structure, and team leadership. She has worked in various industries, including aerospace, engineering, and technology, where she has led significant projects such as the development of the Canadarm-2 for the International Space Station. Exciting. With a solid background in improving operational efficiency, Judy has helped companies save millions and boost performance across global teams. As the founder and CEO of Steadfast Ventures, she now specializes in providing operational due diligence for growth-oriented middle-market businesses.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Judy. And finally, we have Martha Gordash. She is the CEO of Success Profit Planning and a trusted fractional financial strategist dedicated to helping founders build financially confident businesses. She has a passion for empowering small business owners. Martha specializes in turning financial confusion into clarity, guiding entrepreneurs to truly understand their numbers so that they can make smarter decisions, increase revenue, and improve profitability. Through her proven 5-step path to profitability, Martha helps clients clarify their financial position, identify key profit drivers, plan strategic actions, track progress, and optimize for growth. Her approach is especially impactful for professional service firms and trade-based businesses, where financial clarity often gets sidelined by the daily demands of running a company. Martha's promise is simple but powerful: regular, focused financial guidance that drives real results. Her clients gain strategic focus, profit-driven planning, and the confidence to lead their businesses with clarity and purpose. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Well, we've got an exciting topic here today, and we appreciate everyone who is attending here. So we will get started and right through it. We've got a list of questions for our brilliant presenters here today and panelists. I'll kind of pick a question and walk it around the room to each of them. And then hopefully we'll have time at the end for some questions. So our goal is to get this by 1:40 or so, and then leave the rest of the time for any other questions or ideas that anybody else would like to share. So with that said, we'll get started. So here's our topic of creating a culture of accountability. So question one I will ask are, what are the most common obstacles, like unclear expectations or disengagement that prevent teams from embracing accountability, and how have you tackled them? So I'm going to start with Jackie. What are those common obstacles and what have you done to tackle them?
Okay, so this is an interesting panel because we're going to all look at this from different aspects. So I think this is great. I think the most common obstacles really for employees is unclear expectations. They really, and lack of probably transparency. And those are probably what I would say are the biggest obstacles in disengagement or unclear expectations. And the way that I suggest they are targeted is to tackle them with explicit role clarity. So it's a little more than a job description, but to make sure that everyone knows what it is that they are supposed to do, setting goals for individuals, and having transparent communication challenges so that everyone knows who to go to and what that person is going to be able to provide them communication-wise.
Excellent, and I couldn't agree more. And as you talk, I just think of every organization I was in throughout my career, and the lack of transparency and the unclear expectations caused 95% of the problems in the organization. Like,
it's all about communication,
right,
isn't
right.
it?
Nobody ever told me that, you know. So again, be interesting to learn and see if anybody's starting to put some systems in place to track some of this stuff too. I got to believe with AI that we'll get to see more and more of that. So, Judy, how about you from the operational side? Anything? What are your common obstacles, and how have you tackled them regarding accountability?
Well, once again, I will follow what Jackie said. She's right. Unclear expectations as well as unclear directions. Sometimes the directions is thought clear at the executive level. Everyone knows what's supposed to be done. But when we trickle down, we are playing the game of what I call telephone. For some of us of a certain age, we know what that game is. Some of us who are younger have no clue what it is. But basically, we'll start with the story of the apple is red and the orange is purple. And then we want to know, where did it change from here to here? Who changed the story? And when those expectations get unclear, that's where things go awry. That's when people start doing things what they thought was aligned with the expectations, and then we get ourselves in trouble. Direction, again, interpretation, left up to interpretation of what the expectation happens to be instead of clarifying it, making sure what their interpretation of what the directive is on point. And that's where one of the most problems is. And then, of course, unfortunately, once that error is made, there is always the pointing the finger blame. Oh, well, you said this, you said that, you said this. We got to stop. That's one of the things that need to be stopped, and folks need to learn to take accountability for the misinterpretation and the lack of direction.
Excellent. So I guess what I just heard there is, and from both of you really, is a little bit of, accountability is a function of management's becoming accountable for this clarity and this documentation and these clear expectations. So I can recall something, through my career where, sometimes you have a tyrant leader, okay, that's just screaming and demanding and demanding. And then I used to always, we started to coin the term hand slap syndrome. In other words, that every time someone would come and ask for something, they'd say no, and they'd slap their hand, and they'd ask for something, no, and they get their hand slapped. And then it was like, fine, I'm just going to shut down and do nothing until you tell me exactly what to do and how to do it. And I think that's the frustration. And if you ever see that in an organization, you know you've got accountability problems that are stemming from the very top, right? So interesting. Okay, Martha, how about you from the accounting side and the numbers folks, and what have you seen as the biggest issues, and how have you tackled them?
Well, I have to agree with both Jackie and Judy on this, and there isn't a whole lot to add in terms of the person now, but the lack of ways for people to basically, we're talking about accountability. Well, how do they know that they're doing the right thing? Do we have processes in place for them to follow, particularly in the accounting? Do they understand their job? Do you have the right person in the right seat?
Because it's very difficult. I apologize. I just went.
It's very difficult for people to be accountable when they aren't even sure what their goal or their process is.
Mhm. Okay.
And so it comes down to management. And that's something I'm actually working on right now with someone, is setting up that whole process. Because sometimes when you get a company and they've scaled and they've always done things a certain way, all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. The owner can't keep all the information in their head anymore. And so then you have to put processes in place, particularly in the finance area, because it gets messy really, really quickly. It's kind of like when you ignore your house for a while and all of a sudden all the corners are dirty, like really dirty.
Right, right.
And then someone asks for financial statements and they want to go for financing, and no one can answer any of the questions, and there's no accountability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The day-to-day work's got to be done to make sure that the ultimate goal is achieved, right? So,
Exactly. And if there's no accountability in getting the day-to-day done, you get to month end or year end and nobody knows.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep, I can understand that completely.
Can I
So,
say one thing,
please do.
John, regarding
Okay.
to what Martha mentioned in terms of the scaling? That is another situation. When the business scales up rapidly, and just like as you used the illustration, where what they used to do when they had 5 people, now they got 55 people, it's two different things. It's two different ways. And if it's not noted down, it's not modified, if it's not documented somewhere, there's nothing but confusions, or as I would call it, amendment number 1, 2, 3, 4. Once we get to the third one, get rid of the book and start over. So it's one of those clarity things that needs to be done immediately, rather sooner rather than later, before things get out of hand. And also for leaders to start thinking forward in terms of, okay, well, we got 55 people this year. If we go up to 105, can our work or process handle, or is it clear enough for that greater good, for the greater number of individuals? So I
Mhm.
just wanted to add that in there as a touch base.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess this is kind of a sub question too, so how can organizations clarify the roles and expectations to reduce this ambiguity and increase accountability? How do you actually do it? Jackie?
So first is I say to business leaders, you have to delegate, but there's a big difference between delegation and abdication. Abdication means no follow-up. I'm telling you what to do and you go do it, and that's it. But that's not what, if you want to get accountability, that is not where you need to go. You need to have check-ins with people to see how it's going, where it's going. Are they clear? Is that telephone that Judy was talking about making things different from my mouth to your ears? Has that become a muck? And we use a digital accountability system called Assess Team, and putting goals and tasks. Some people use Teams. Some Some people use other CRMs, but you have to have some way to have documented regular check-ins, clear job descriptions, as we talked about before, so everyone knows what it is that they're supposed to be doing.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay.
One more thing, peer feedback is another thing that you can do. So if you're if you have a team and that team is not really functional, doing a 360 from the team members is something that, and for those who don't know, that's those above, those below, and those lateral. That's why it's called a 360, to see what they think is going on. And that will help.
Okay. How often should you do something like that? How often do you think is the right time frame?
Well, for me, if you are a leader and you have delegated to another leader, or it's a new leader especially, I suggest that you give them a couple months and then you do a 360, because HR says you shouldn't go around the leader of that organization, but you do need to know how things are going from the bottom up. So it can be done. I've had it done on an annual basis, and then I've had it done for new leaders, and that works well.
The typical 90-day review part of that process.
Well, 30. I don't know if you need a 360 at that point, but you should be doing a 30, 60, 90-day review of all hires.
Right.
At setting the expectations, as we've talked about, and then doing the follow-up to see how are they doing.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Martha, let me jump up to you. How have you clarified roles and expectations to hold people accountable?
I was going to say, going off of what Jackie said, clear job descriptions, processes, and then going back and doing check-ins, and definitely using technology to track tasks and time deadlines to make sure that people, for one, if it's posted, they know what they need to do. And it gives you a great checkpoint that isn't personal. It's pre-planned, it's clear. You're not, it's just business, so to speak. And one way of doing that for a finance team is basically having an accountability chart so everybody knows what their role is within the team, so that they're not going, well, who's supposed to do this task?
Mm-hmm.
Literally
so
give
it's
everybody
beyond job descriptions, the accountability chart. I think you're absolutely right.
Yep. I love it. Okay. I know there's another system out there that people use that put a lot of focus on the accountability chart. So there's plenty of them out there, where you get focused truly on what the role is and what the individual components of accountability are, so that everybody's very clear on that. And when you have those 30, 60, and 90-day reviews, that should be what you're using. Have we adhered to everything that's been set? So, Judy, anything?
And John,
Okay.
one more thing, and it starts with an org chart.
Yes.
No, org charts are just names in boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thus, the accountability chart that kind of focuses on what it is that the responsibilities are beyond, so that everyone can see, not just the individuals who have those responsibilities.
Right. And I would contend too that, again, when you look at accountability chart, because I've been in meetings and I love and hate the use of 3-letter acronyms, so you have this LMK. What the heck is LMK? What am I supposed to know? Just to make sure that, even though we put it in a pretty chart and we put letters on it and everything else, walking that person through what everything means, what their role is against that. again, to bring clarity to it so that the, it's almost like when you, if you've ever get arrested and you get your Miranda rights read to you, do you understand the rights that have just been read to you? Make them acknowledge. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Okay, you said that you do. Okay, so we're going to put you down for that. So, Judy, anything to add to that? Improving clarity and
It's
expectations? Mm-hmm.
of course. The accounting we charge, since I am a project manager by nature,
There we go.
so I automatically go to the RASI chart, hence the acronym, which stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And depending on where they fall on a project or on an assignment, there's certain people are more responsible or accountable, or the ones that you consult just to verify everything is in the up and up, and the others are just informing them just to keep them abreast of what's going on. And this is where you make sure of where Jackie mentioned that 360 confirmation. The executive board will be on the informed side. For example, they're brought up to date what's going on. The consulting ones are those who are the special subject matters experts, just to make sure that we have an understanding what's going up, what's going down, what's going left, what's going right. And then, of course, the responsible and accountable ones are the ones who are actually doing the work and making sure everything falls in line. That's where those applications like the MS Project, the Asana, Monday, those type of applications come in. When you put those assignments for everyone who has to be done, they are responsible as well as accountable to getting it done. But the lead is accountable to ensuring everybody gets their work done, so that when the reporting comes up, they end up informing the upper brass so they know what's going on. So making sure those are clear again,
Mm-hmm.
making sure they're clear, everyone falls, I hate to use the term, but everyone falls in line in doing what they have to do. But we don't want to be so regimented where we get people in their tunnels and say, well, this is beyond my scope, this is beyond my job description. Sometimes they cross and they
Mm-hmm.
have to have that opening. But
Mm-hmm.
again, depending on the environment, depending on the type of business, depending on the type of industry you're in, sometimes there are certain things are regimented. But
Mm-hmm.
it has to be in the culture where everyone works together so that we don't have that silo life, but that horizon life. And if there's that horizon environment embodiment culture, everyone will be more willing to help each other as well as hold each other accountable in a nice way to ensure the work gets done.
Mm-hmm.
And Judy mentioned one big word, culture.
Mm-hmm.
So culture starts from the top. So you need to institute that um, culture where people do exactly what it is and are not focused on just me, but the whole let's get it done. And how are we going to do it best?
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's, we didn't even have a real question around this, but now we're kind of focusing towards the team, right? So we have personal accountability, let everybody understand what they're supposed to be doing, right? But now the team is all part of that. And, I myself, when I consult with my clients and I have a sales team in front of me, it's kind of my first speech to them is, in my book, selling is a team sport. Okay. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't go for the Lone Rangers that go out there and bring it home. I want to see the team play. And one of the other lines that I tend to use with people, I said, just like on a football team, there's no such position as the fumble picker upper because they wouldn't be in the right place at the right time. It's everybody on the team has that responsibility. That is their job. So when you see a fumble, somebody doesn't answer a question right to a client, or something's unclear, or something is missing, jump on the damn ball. That's your responsibility. Maintain possession. Okay.
I like that, John. I think we all need to have a job description called fumble picker upper.
Right, exactly.
I love that.
So I just to make sure, because so many times I have seen, something gets done wrong, five people recognize it, but no one does a damn thing about it. It's like, come on, you know, it's just not fair. It's not fair to the organization. It's not fair to the team, right? So
But
anyway,
culture
okay.
can influence that as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you have a culture where there's a lot of punitive sort of actions taken by management, people are less likely to pick up that fumble because they feel no loyalty.
There you go. I love it. I love
Or
it.
Uh,
they might do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Wrong.
Right.
So
yes.
Yeah.
there's a culture of, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna stand back and keep my head down. If you've got that kind of culture, you're
Mm.
in a bad situation. You need to
Right.
get
Right.
someone in to be working with you on your culture.
Right.
Yes, and it can impact the overall performance of the business
Totally.
altogether. And there's unfortunately, I've had the experience of working in a company of that nature where the culture was punitive, threatening, and stifling all at once. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone stayed in their silo. They did what they had to do, and if you had a loyal kingsman on the another side of the wall that you can talk to about whatever to get information, you were lucky. Most of the
Right.
times you were fending for yourself, and that's not good. That is
Mm-hmm.
not good.
That
And then,
definitely doesn't help accountability, does it?
no, it doesn't. It does
To
not.
have that kind of culture. So yeah,
I
Exactly.
yep. I hear you, and I've been there as well. I can think of one company that was exactly like that. Everybody just hid and did their own thing because you didn't want the wrath of the business owner on you, and the culture was just that, you know, don't get caught and don't help anybody else because you can get in trouble. But so with that said, and that topic that we just discussed, it has me thinking, you all are, you know, fractional experts in a sense, helping your clients. So, what do you do if you walk into this client and you discover this culture that's, you know, so negative like that? How well, let me ask you the question. Has anybody have an example of that at your client level? And if so, how have you addressed it with the owner to try to bring and
I
reverse the culture?
I certainly have.
Okay.
Um, you know, we actually have an assessment called "Do you want to be rich or do you want to be king?"
I love it.
And because if you're a king, everything comes and goes through the king. Employees are kind of worthless, right? And that's somebody has asked me who you want to work with, and I said I don't want to work with kings because that's just nothing. But if you want to advise um, your clients, I think doing a culture exercise. I mean, we have something called Culture Creator that looks at, it's a card game actually that does a real nice job in helping come up with what we as the team want the culture to be, and then what are the actions that demonstrate that culture. Um, so very inexpensive tool, but that anyone can use with a team in their organization. So
That's great. Yeah, an assessment like that, I think, is critical to expose it. I think, you know, even knowing that one example of mine, you know, from a past life, did they really recognize they were creating this negative culture? Probably not. You know,
it depends if they want to be king.
yeah, well, right.
They are recognizing
Yeah,
it.
exactly, exactly, you know, but, it's funny, as a kid, I worked in a fast food restaurant and it just taught me a lot of things in life on how to serve clients, how to keep your house clean. His philosophy always was, if you're not serving a customer, you better have a rag in your hand, you better be cleaning something, you know? And I just respected it. I was a young kid, I was being taught and everything else. Well, this gentleman eventually, you know, turned over the business to his kids and they bought other places. And I went to one of the other kids' place and he was there. And he was 92 years old. And he said to me, he goes, you know, I just want to apologize for how I treated you. And I said, excuse me? And he said, yeah, he goes, my dad taught me how to do that. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized how abusive and how aggressive I was being towards everybody. I said, I was a dumb kid that was happy to learn. So, you don't have to apologize to me, but it's amazing to see somebody that, built that culture, if you will, actually recognize it later in life and almost want to apologize for it. But anyway, it's interesting. And I love the idea of an assessment to kind of bring it to light or bring it to their vision, because I think some people just simply are blind to it. Others do want to be king. I get it. We're seeing enough of that in today's world, but we'll take it from there. Okay, so we talked about systems, and I appreciate, Judy, you bringing to light, names that I remember, Asana and Monday, and I worked in businesses that had huge project management teams, and these were systems that were brought to bear to keep us all informed in a methodology where we could watch an order, let's say, go through the system and keep customers informed and make everybody aware of what's going on. And I loved your RASI. I'd never heard that one before, so I appreciate that one. That's one I'll put in my quiver for sure. But now we have AI. Is anybody playing with anything AI yet, as far as the tracking and the accountability or the enforcement thereof? Has anybody seen anything there yet or used anything yet?
Well,
Jackie.
AI is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I call it relative to HR. And the reason is the ugly is AI is programmed or made up by humans. And as humans, we have bias. And bias in an HR standpoint, it's not what we're looking to have, right? But there are some good things. We made a closed AI system to help people put their handbook in it, and so that the HR people could just let their employees have a bot to ask the bot questions, so it wasn't 45 questions the same thing when we knew they didn't read the handbook. So that's an AI tool that I think was in the good, not the bad or the ugly.
Okay, so that's like an internal. These are bots or agents, as they say, that are internal.
You train it for that handbook.
Right.
As an example.
Yep. And then you can just simply ask questions against it, as opposed to having to just read it from cover to cover. So I think that's one of the greatest things I'm seeing in AI today, is that ability to have those agents available. And we do it on our side in the sales world. We have a sales playbook as well, and we can do the same thing where we put the agents on the systems, and then they can query past jobs and what we've done for other people and all that kind of good stuff. So I would assume it would be similar for the handbook. Martha or Judy, anything on the AI side from your perspective?
Well, QuickBooks has rolled out a lot of AI, and that's also the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is the simple transactions that get automatically categorized. The bad is their suggestions are often very interesting. And now you have to have people that are trained well enough to be able to go back in and spot the errors that AI has made when it automatically did things. And the issue becomes when you do a set it and forget it mindset, no one's looking at it until someone looks at whether it's statements or things like that. And it's like, well, what happened here? And so AI isn't going to take financial professionals' jobs. It certainly makes certain things easier. And within a closed system, it can do a lot of analysis fairly quickly. But that's the good side. The bad side is if you don't know the numbers you're putting into it, you're still you might get garbage. Because what if you don't know what you're putting in? And you're relying on what that AI has spit out, but you didn't know what your baseline was. So there's definitely efficiencies that can be had. I haven't seen it used necessarily to track individual employee efficiency at this point. I mean, within finance, there's always time clocks. I mean, that's part of that whole, paying people. You're always working with that. But it'll be interesting to see what AI does with some of that going forward, because there's a lot of tech already involved in that. I mean, you get geofencing and all kinds of things. One of the pieces of technology I was using for a while could geofence which country you're working in, so malicious actors couldn't log in from other places and those kinds of things. So there's like I said, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I like some of the things AI has done. It's certainly made certain things easier, and other things make sure you're awake and you're still watching it.
I do think, though, it's coming. The tracking.
Oh yeah.
I think it's coming. I'm sure, Judy, you do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Yeah. And that's, again, are we going to see a little bit of Big Brother here, I guess, is the concern on some people's part, right? Because one of the things I'm seeing, AI being beneficial is, again, making sure you follow up with people, make sure whatever commitment you made, you can just simply now talk into these systems, right? And say, make sure that if something hasn't happened in 30 days, that I communicate with this person, or I have a meeting with them and do all this kind of stuff. And then, on the sales side, you can go through and say, walk through my last, 10 email exchanges with this client and make suggestions for things I might do to satisfy their concerns and needs, or be more valuable to them. So that's where I'm seeing some good stuff. But to your point, Martha, you got to be careful with what you get back and and how you're going to use that stuff. So with that said, maybe I'll shift gears into one of the things here. Questions was, how do we encourage open and honest conversations about mistakes and learning? Okay. Because I think, what we're seeing here, is a lot of, okay, whether the system is manual, whether the system is, online, or whether it's now AI enforced type of thing, mistakes are going to be brought to the surface. Okay. This occurred, this happened, whatever. What do we do to encourage this open and honest conversation so that, people look at their mistakes as a learning process and not just, the blame game? How about that one? Jackie?
Can I start?
Oh,
Oh,
sure. Thank you, Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
first things first, it depends. It starts with the culture.
Mm-hmm.
If the culture is right and it's inviting, it will give you an environment of learning, and people are willing to learn and transfer knowledge, and they will, you keep a ledger of certain things, so that if it's something you've done for the first time, especially in project management, there's the lessons learned at the end of the project, and you have a list of it, what to do, what not to do, how to handle certain things, certain complexities, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing will be also, it's the type of people that you're dealing with. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Everyone has their level of sensitivity. If you come across like a battle axe, everyone's going to shut down faster than a trap door.
Mm-hmm.
And you will just get yes, no, maybe so. If you're open for engagement of thought process and let them express what they thought they understood, and how the mistake came, and what they learned from it, there's that open flow of communication, will make things totally different and make it more inviting for people to speak, exchange ideas, take notes, give encouragement, even though there may be a mistake, but okay, you know what, you did good on this, but next time try to be careful on this, this, and this, so that we don't have that. They'll be more open. So, but if you're dealing with a blame game, pointing fingers, humiliate in public, but don't even acknowledge them in private,
Mm-hmm.
doing the opposite,
Yep.
humiliate in public and only acknowledge them in private, people are not going to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let
Mm-hmm.
me get off my soapbox. Go ahead.
No, I love it. I love it. Jackie or Martha? Go ahead, Jackie.
I think that as leaders, um, being open and vulnerable, meaning make it acceptable to make mistakes. Mistakes are so we know we don't have the right process in place to keep us from making those mistakes, is what I often do. But really make it a regular, accepted part of team meetings to openly talk about mistakes, problems, and what did we learn, what didn't go as planned if we're doing an event or pretty much anything. So, and then as Judy said, focus on learning, not blame.
Yeah.
It blames history.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can fix the past. So we
Right.
should focus on the future.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's that back to culture again. It's I'm thinking of one of my clients, and the owner is very humble. He's a very humble man, and he comes on the sales meetings, and he'll say, "Geez, did I screw up this week? I made this mistake and that mistake, and but here's what I did to fix it. And have you guys ever experienced it? I hope we'll go this way next time." And boom, 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 boom. So always using those. We're all human. Type of thing. And let's just help and learn from one another. Tough to do with some of the personalities that it takes to run bigger companies, and but it's what we've all got to look towards. So, Martha, anything on your side or any thoughts
I
around?
would agree with what you guys were saying because I was thinking the same thing. Because as soon as you're punitive, people shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And if the lead will never admit to making a mistake, then the employees won't want to do so either because it just makes you look really bad
Mm-hmm.
because you're the one that messed up, but this other person never makes a mistake. And it makes, like you said, it makes you human when you admit to, making errors, then everyone's like, well, yeah, that does happen. And as humans, that is a constant issue that we have to deal with.
Yep.
I have one question that I always ask in an interview. What is one process or rule you have in managing your boss? And usually that people are like, what? And one of the people I interviewed said, well, the boss is always right. And I said, well, this one isn't.
Right.
So you might as well, let's start from the beginning. No, that is not how to manage me, because if there's something wrong, let me know.
Yep.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So we're running close on time here, but I want to ask one more question that popped into my head here. Talking about accountability, we've got some great discussions here about culture and how to work through that, and how to open up a culture and systems and processes and everything else. So now we're still kind of living in this world of post-COVID and remote workers, and I think of my children who are in the workforce, and I know my daughter started her job pre-COVID, and she's, "Dad, I love my boss. He's the greatest. He's teaching me this, he's teaching me that." And then she came home, and her attitude changed. So one last question. How do we hold remote workers or younger workers accountable today? I'll just leave you with that final question. Anybody want to jump on that first?
Well, I think we're going to be in a 5-generation society, if
Hey,
we
yeah.
aren't already. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to understand the differences in how each of them work,
Mm-hmm.
and what their kind of thought process is,
Mm-hmm.
because being remote is one thing, but you've got that issue. I think that initially, relative to remote, we thought it was really going to be fantastic, everybody going remote, because everyone was scared during COVID and they worked their little tails off. But the problem with remote, from my standpoint, is that the B players are never with A players, because A players can all work remote, no problem. But there's nobody to aspire to if you're remote,
Mm-hmm.
and those B players can't come A.
Good point. Judy, Martha, any other final thoughts on that? Remote workers and
Trust.
friendly workers? Trust.
Trust.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't give them the sense of trust,
Mm-hmm.
or the leadership doesn't have that level of trust in their staff, doesn't matter the age of their staff, they will always suspect that they're goofing off and not doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, it needs to be established that there's a level of trust, and then the younger ones will get that sense of trust, and there going to be a sense of ownership on their end to ensure that they get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where that accountability comes in. This is where that responsibility comes in. And then, of course, Jackie's 360. We could do that in the meetings and see where they are. And that will prevent any sort of hesitation, especially for remote workers. Unfortunately, there are many managers in the larger corporations who don't have that sense of trust, hence why we have the return to office.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. There you
And
go.
I agree with Judy on trust, but there's one other thing, and that is we're all different people. And there's some people that thrive in a team setting in an office where they perhaps are more extroverted and they don't enjoy working by themselves. So they actually feed off the people around them and they're more productive because they're working with others. And then there's the introverts in this world that if you would just leave them alone can get a lot done, because they're drained by people. So I think when we put out a universal policy, whether it's remote or in person or in office work, we are not taking into account how differently people work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good
I'm one of
point.
those introverts, so I was fine with COVID.
Okay, but again, it's about accountability, our topic here. And it's just, I remember 15 years ago when the millennials were coming around, if you will, or maybe that was 20 years ago now. And all of us complaining that these kids don't work. They show up late, they're out the door at 5 o'clock and, they're just not getting the work done. It was actually the IT guy, and I found this amazing. He came back to me because he was a millennial and he heard us arguing about it. He says, "Hey, I got to show you something." This was the program management team, Judy, by the way. And what they discovered was, okay, yes, they came in exactly when they were supposed to be there at 8:30 or 9 or whatever the thing was, and they did their work. And yes, at lunch they may jump on the web and do a little shopping or chit chat with somebody. And yes, they were out the door at 5 o'clock because that's kind of their culture. But they would go to the bar to have a drink with friends or something. He goes, but here's the magic part. Look at how many of these millennials jump back on at 8 o'clock at night and work from 8 to 11. And if who cares when they do their work if the work gets done? And he says, isn't that the point? And it was enlightening to me. So I think looking at the individual personalities, or maybe even the genders, if you will, to Jackie's point, and we have to look at what our expectations are against how they do their jobs, as well as the whole culture of the organization. So, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, ladies. This is great. We've taken our time for our questions and your input, and it's been fantastic. And I appreciate the view. And we already have a question. Paul has raised his hand, and I will open him for a question if he still has it.
Yep. Most of the stuff that we've talked about seems to be addressable by looking at the EOS operating system, because that deals with a whole lot of this stuff, especially the accountability, the trust, the team building, sharing the vision, sharing the feedback both up and down the management chain. So I'm curious to hear our panel's opinion on the EOS or similar systems of management systems. Yes, they can take 3 years to develop and implement, but it seems to me that that's time well spent.
I think Judy, Paul really talked about, it doesn't have to be US. You can have Monday's great. You can use Zoho. It doesn't really matter as long as you build in accountability into that system. I think that EOS is great. I have no problems with EOS. Looking at the different levels, but I think you can do it yourself as well.
Any other thoughts, ladies?
Yeah, and I mean exactly what Jackie's saying. I mean, some of them want to use the EOS because we want to keep it traditional, but if we do something of a EOS-like design specifically for that particular business, then they won't feel so, as I would say, regimented and so restricted. It encompasses the functionality of their business as well as include the culture of that business. Yes, the EOS is the perfect baseline to use as a framework to build upon. Hence why I mentioned the other applications, Asana, Monday, and whatnot, that can be used. But as long as able to ensure the accountability of those who are on the team, the decision makers, etc., get the work done, translate the information downwards to their staff and their team members, and in a clear and concise way.
Yeah,
Hopefully that answers your question.
Right, a system, as Judy said, does not hold somebody accountable. It maybe helps in follow-up, but it goes beyond that, as she said.
Right. And there is EOS, and then there's the pinnacle offshoot of that, and there's other systems out there, and some are right for certain size businesses. So I think it's whatever you're comfortable with. But a business system in general, I agree, Paul, is maybe the cornerstone of getting this done. But then to Jackie's point, it goes beyond that system. It goes to the culture. So you can run EOS or any other system, but if the owner still has that culture of I'm the king, then all those systems may fall by the wayside. So, but, okay. Any other questions from our attendees here today? Okay. All right. Well, we thank you very much for attending. I just put all of our contact information into the chat. So if you want to copy the chat, if you'd like to get in touch with any of the panelists here or myself, we're happy to take your email or your calls. And we've got our LinkedIn profiles in there. I hope we can all link in together and continue to help one another and educate one another so we can all get better in the roles that we play serving our clients and our customers.
John,
Yes,
chat has been disabled. And it's not, whatever you put in there is not showing up.
Okay.
I was going to mention that. So, because you had mentioned a webinar next week, so that link is not in there either.
Nothing.
Okay. I am looking at it, but why is it disabled?
And I have no idea what Michael Gansel was going to talk about.
I was going to say the same thing, Paul, but I also, you mentioned EOS. If the bottom line is, have you read Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited?
Not yet.
Okay, but definitely put that on your list, because the thing that he says mostly, which is, I think we've all addressed, if you don't have a system, you don't really have a business.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whether it's EOS or it's Vern Harnish or it's Pinnacle, whatever it is, you need a system. It can be homegrown or it can be, stuff that you have read in the book and applied, but you still need a system to really have a business.
That was just the first one that came to mind.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just see, save chat. Participants can chat. Well, okay, here you go. Participants can chat with everyone. All right. Let's try this again.
Yay.
Do you see it now?
I see that I can message everyone. I don't see any of the stuff you put in there.
I'm going to, send this again.
Perfect.
Okay, so here's everybody's contact info. Did that come through?
Yep.
Okay, and then let me recopy Jackie's.
Here, I got it for you,
got
John.
It? Okay. Beautiful. Okay. All right, there we go. Thank you for that. I didn't realize that was a option up there in the piece. So, all right. Well, again, we thank you all for attending. If anybody here can assist you in any way, we're all open to it, and I know the ladies are.
And if you want, we'll stay on for a few minutes if somebody has additional questions.
There is one issue. I can't seem to copy the chat. You should be There should be
If
3
you
buttons at the top.
if you click the 3 buttons at the top,
I don't see the 3 buttons at the top. I don't know if anybody else does.
are
was
you
gonna say-
under everyone? I can see it.
So
no.
the title is where it says, when you open the chat, and it says no excuses, creating a culture of accountability, right at the top.
Nope. No 3
Nope.
dots.
No 3 dots.
I have them.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but you're a panelist, Jackie. You're not a peon
I
like
guess
the rest
so.
of us.
That's why. Okay. Participants can chat with everybody. I've got a save chat button, so I can save it, but that doesn't do you any good.
Well, why don't we email it to everyone?
Let's
We have
do
all
that.
of that
You should have the
information.
list. So yeah, if
We
you
have
don't
the
mind, we
information
will,
because everyone registered, so we'll send it out to you. Fair
Right.
enough?
Excellent. Well, thank you. It was a great, very, very, it was very thorough. I took a significant page of notes. You know, everybody made some great sense. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you around in H7 meetings. Thank you.
All right.
you.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Mike.
Bye, Susan.
Okay, I've got to run
Thank
to my
you.
next
Bye,
one. Thank you,
everybody. It was a pleasure.
Jackie, I just want to. Jackie is my namesake. She's my niece.
Yeah.
So she called in. She's an HR person as well, runs an HR department in the Midwest. And so I was really surprised. I saw Jackie Peterson had registered, but it was like, I'm sure
What's the
there's a lot
chances?
of Jackie Petersons. So it was like, whoa.
I have
Yeah.
to run on to my next, but you ladies
Take
can stay
care.
up there, so thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Yes, no, nice presentation. So thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome. And if you need anything, any of the tools, let me know.
Yeah, no, you definitely mentioned some that kind of stick out to me, especially like that card game around the values. That definitely I'd be interested in learning more on that. So my leadership
Okay,
team
I'll
needs
I'll
somebody with
send you a
accountability.
flyer, Jackie.
Okay, that's awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I have to jump to my next one. So thank you, ladies.
Yes.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Have a good one. Have a good one. Talk to you later.
We'll
Bye.
talk to you later, Aunt Jackie.
Bye.
Bye.
How fun was that?